Here resides the heart of a Minecraft player, the void, often portrayed as an emptiness, a lack of substance, the ennui of existence, meant to be temporarily filled with meaningless drivel before dwindling away, the void, ever to return, but can also be reconceptualized as a canvas, a blank slate, a tabula rasa waiting the brushstrokes of meaning in a world rife with opportunity. Not a void, but a vessel for good, a vessel where the future can be written, where purpose and joy can paint a tapestry against the walls of the heart, a vessel awaiting apotheosis, achieved through the close relationships with those you care for, meaning found through actions you take in the world, and by building cool redstone contraptions that get you Discord DMs of women's feet. Welcome back to another episode of Burgcraft. Today we have important work on our hands. We need to get the base blocks that will help us improve industry and let us build all of the farms that we will need to make sure that we have enough blocks, decorative blocks, to make sure that our area doesn't look like shit. Now, one thing I actually realized that I hadn't brought up in a couple episodes is a little while ago I had made some adjustments to the iron farm. I'd mentioned that I had changed the layout of the blocks here. Since I've done that, this iron farm has not stopped working. It hasn't broken once. It is going crazy. And I thought to myself, ooh, we're going to need another iron farm at some point, like a better, bigger one. But I really don't. Just kind of passively, like, farming stuff around here and doing things. Just, like, piddling away, getting little resources, AFKing here and there. Like, we have plenty of iron blocks for the time being. I just don't need to worry about expansion just yet. So I'm not going to bother. Today is about a couple of really important farms that basically are going to give us the base blocks that we're going to need to improve all of our machines, to make machines, and to get everything we need. So the first step is going to be a bamboo farm. Now, bamboo planks are very good as a form of base wood that you just need for everything, because it grows really fast, it grows really dense, and you can harvest it automatically. Something you can just let go and it will just build up, and build up. And we are going to be basically swimming in wooden planks and be fine. That's going to be the first project. That's going to allow us to make more stuff. The second project is going to be a moss farm, because mossy stuff looks really good. Moss blocks, moss carpets are really good for lighting up the grass area. Mossy stone bricks, mossy cobble, it's all fantastic. And that will be a great improvement to our design options. And then after that, I do want to make an easier way to kind of just get wood. Just get as much wood as we can. And all of the different types of farms that I'm going to make are going to need bone meal. So after that, we're going to make a high-powered, large bone meal farm so that we can fuel more farms in the future. So for the bamboo farm, I wanted to make, this is going to be a flying machine-based one. In terms of the original design, I genuinely don't know. I do not know who originally came up with the flying machine, the premise. However, there is one thing I do know, and that is I'm going to use a bit of an interesting collection system to try to pick up all the bamboo. That's going to be a little bit lag friendlier, and should it hopefully reduce backup and give me some more storage options. And I do know who came up with that, and I've built it right here. This is designed by Ilmango, and this is a Tileable Minecart unloader. Now, what does that actually look like? This looks kind of goofy, generally speaking. Basically, what this is a machine that should automatically completely take all of the contents out of a minecart, fire them out in one direction, just throw them out instantly, and recycle the minecart. So how does that look in practice? Just to kind of give you an idea of what we're dealing with. So we have a minecart here. I'm going to put all the stuff out here. It's going to come up over here, up this rail. And all of the redstone torches that I put in there should end up on this rail here. So if I do that, whoop, and there they are. You see the other feature there. So we have all these. So this means that what we can do is we can go across a large area, pick up a lot of items, and instantly dispense them into an area that we of our choosing, as opposed to having to wait for the hopper minecarts to unload in some other way. This also has that feature, as you'll probably have noticed. If I move that, and just for the sake of a demonstration, we'll go like this, break you, make it powered. So now what this is doing is it is taking this minecart, it's automatically breaking it, cycling it back through the system, and then redispensing it. So this is a system basically that will ensure that you don't have to have, normally in these situations for these types of farms, you just have a bunch of hopper minecarts just going back and forth forever. But this means that when the minecarts aren't doing something, they're put away. And if we were to do something like this, the minecart goes away and it stays hidden in this dropper here, which allows us to have basically the minecarts only come out when we want them to. Now that seems like a kind of a waste of time, but because I'm going to be building this in this area, there's going to be a lot of minecarts here. There's probably going to be a lot of minecarts everywhere. And minecarts are entities, so they make more lag. So the goal is reduce lag. Start off the base, assuming that it's going to get worse. The frames are going to start dropping as we start going through here. Let's try to mitigate that in advance. So that's what this is for. And how this works, because it's not obvious, I don't think, by looking at it. Basically, when the minecart comes up and over, it passes over this. It passes over this detector rail. And then comes up here. What happens when this minecart comes up here is that it flies up this mud block. It ends up hitting this amethyst shard. This is the fully grown amethyst shard. Thank you, Rain. It hits that, and that aligns it so that the minecart tries to actually snap to this rail down here. It can't, because this is a cauldron full of lava. The cauldron full of lava actually breaks the minecart and puts the minecart into this hopper and into this dropper right here. The items, however, since they're still kind of over here, they just spit out. And we can put a water stream over here and just have the items just fly into a water stream. What basically ends up happening is when this detector rail gets hit, this is basically timed so that by the time the minecart goes up, over, breaks, into the hopper, and then into this dropper, it's then powered so that it spits itself into this dispenser and then back onto the rail. So that's what makes it basically cycle for as long as you want. If it's broken, this will just keep going. And you actually see it. It's staying, the detector rail is staying powered on until the minecart goes in. And when it's powered off, the observer detects that and it goes through this path here. And you can build these next to each other. And you can make them as long as you want. You can go out long and as many next to each other as possible. And as long as we have some sort of switch or something, we can just turn it off when we're not using it. And see, it doesn't go until I hit this. So that means we can power that with some sort of lever somewhere so we don't have to worry about it. We can hook that up to a bunch of them next to each other, so we can have it so that the minecarts only go when there's something to be picked up. So on that note, I think I'll start getting building on this, and we'll take a second once it's all built to show off the flying machine part of it. The flying machine is actually pretty simple, but there's some things about flying machines that are not so obvious, so I'll show that off when we get to it, but until then, here is some building. What I actually did when I finished recording that was go grab some supplies because I didn't have enough gold or redstone to build this, but I didn't record it because I didn't want to, and I need a witch farm really badly, but I didn't want to lie to you, so that's what this voiceover is for. A quick second to kind of show this process in action. These are going to be all the pickup lines, and when it's working, it'll be minecarts sent out in unison. Yeah. Now, I also didn't immediately go for building again because I ran out of gold making this, and I don't need powered rails for the whole thing, but I thought the powered rails will look cooler. And here's me building the contraption that's supposed to power the bottom, but I couldn't figure it out, so I fucked it up several times before I worked on the solution. Why is it always raining when I want to record? So, just taking a quick break from the construction to showcase some of the parts all working together, which is not going to be super visible once the rest of this is all properly covered up. So, we have 20 of the automatic minecart unloaders all in right up next to each other. On this side here is where, this is just a step for me. This is where all the items are going to be thrown out. And I'm going to build a little water stream going this way. I have it set up so that some people set these up to be like when, like they'll go off when bamboo reaches a certain height. I don't want that. I don't want it to just kind of go. I want to kind of be in control of it. So the bamboo is going to be at the same height as these mud blocks. It's going to be grown out like on these blocks here. This will be tall enough so that the roots will stay, and this here flying machine will break them. So, flying machine, very simple. This is all it is. Redstone lamp that is detected by that button, turned on by the button, detected by the observer, powers through, and just sends the flying machine on its way. It also has a return station over here. This will detect when it shows up and send it back. It's kind of hard to explain how the flying machine is like operating without just kind of letting it go. But there's going to be a lot of stuff going on in a second. So this is going to go and break all the bamboo. Now at the same time, when I hit that button and the flying machine heads off, it'll take this glass with it, which will be detected by this observer, depowering this copper bulb, which will follow this redstone line down here, and that will send out the minecarts. The minecarts will go along the tracks, bouncing back and forth for as long as the flying machine is out. And I think that will be enough time, but we'll have some practice when we get there. The reason for the copper bulb is a copper bulb makes what the redstoners call a T flip-flop, or a toggleable flip-flop. The flip-flop is just the regular name, which is a fancy way the electronic way of basically saying an on-off switch. Observers, when they see something, they make one pulse that is one tick. It just fires out and goes. But I need this bottom system to stay on for the entirety. So this takes the one pulse and turns it into an on-off switch with a copper bulb and a comparator pointing out of it. Because once you power if you quickly power a copper bulb, it'll stay on until you power it again to turn it off. Bedtime. So how's this going to look in practice? This will be, have like a proper place to actually like, walk. But until then, when I hit this button, it'll send the flying machine off. Flying machine goes, and there go the minecarts. The observers are basically detecting the air, like that they move, and that's what's powering the pistons. This goes, when it arrives, sends it back. So this will be breaking bamboo as it goes, and you can see the minecarts traveling along. We'll be picking up everything. And they'll keep going. And then once it arrives, it stops, powers this, so that when the minecarts come back, they will not be redispensed. And they stay in. Perfect. Now, if you were to build something like this is a little bit over-engineered. I don't think you probably don't need as many powered rails as I have, and by probably I mean you just don't. You could have these interspersed with regular rails. I just kept them powered. It just not for any particular reason. There's no benefit to doing this, really, but it looks cool. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay. So step 2 is going to be, we got all the electronics down. Next is going to be putting in the mud. Putting the mud in. This doesn't need to be mud, by the way. I'm using mud for the look of it. So it could just be dirt, and this would work just as fine. I'm going to be putting mud in the whole way. Plant the bamboo. And work out the storage system and the water streams. So let's get to that now. I wanted to have voiceovers for every single one of these because thematically throughout the whole thing it's funny, but I don't have anything for this, so I'm just recording this as a placeholder. Just fucking realize this is the wrong height. This needs to be 1 block lower. This whole thing. This is fine. Oh, I put that there, but I can power. But all the mud has to be at this height, not that height. But there's all this fucking storage water streams and a bunch of chests and all this. Start putting the mud on. I was like, wait a minute. So I have to just lower it by 1 block. Redstone's a process. Nobody's perfect, all right? Sometimes you gotta... I could have just changed this and been like, whoa, and just pretended that didn't happen. But no, I'm going to keep that I'm a dipshit in. We all can grow. Because we all make mistakes. Me especially. I make a lot of them constantly. Well, when I'm building all this, I was watching the time lapse. And watching all of the bamboo grow, I couldn't help but just kind of make the noise in my head. Okay. Not 100% finished. Mostly finished. Bamboo's in. Tracks are ready. Mostly glassed off, but I do have this side open just in case it goes wrong. Oh, it's the time for the first test. Time to see if this thing works. Okay, flying machine's going. Items coming out. Flying down. Oh, look at it go. Oh, I didn't think about that. I put the bamboo all the way to the end, even though it wouldn't be broken. It's a big L on my part. The question is, will it pick up everything that's on the ground? Looking for extra items. And that's looking good. Okay, there's a couple here. We'll put a little, maybe we'll bring the glass in a little bit, I think. Not the, oh, can't bring the glass in, no. We'll do something to make sure that, you know, there's a couple pieces of bamboo here at the end that get dealt with. We'll glass this off, but otherwise, this was a resounding success. We have a bamboo farm. But yeah, this is gonna fill up quick. Excellent. Ooh, I'm very pleased with how this went. Oh, there's bamboo everywhere. Okay, we just gotta close this off and then do a couple little adjustments and then we'll be good. So I've been tinkering with this a little bit. Added a couple of little things. The glass is not all the way up yet because I ran out of glass. Incredible. But I have noticed it's an incredibly satisfying machine to use. The only downside so far is I have noticed a little bit of a backlog. Just hit this. First off, this is just sick every time. So far, though, as you can tell, the glass isn't tall enough because it's like bamboo up on the glass on the sides. But so far, there hasn't been a problem with the minecarts being able to collect everything. They get everything when the machine turns off. Which is just, I'm a big fan of seeing it just fly out of here. Whenever the minecarts do return. Ooh. I still have to close off that because you can see there's a bunch of, you know, stuff flying out of it. There is one downside, and I'll wait for all this to show up first. We'll worry about that later. The one downside is that there's so much bamboo that it overloads every single hopper along this line until it gets to here. And it stays in this spot, and the amount of bamboo that gets stuck here is an inventory full of it. Oh, sticky situation. It is a sticky situation. So I actually don't have enough hoppers to pick up the sheer quantity. And I could probably add a few more here, just at this corner. But I think I'll also add a few more down here and have this section be the auto crafting section. There's a certain amount of it that I want to be to pretty much always stay as the bamboo shafts, just in case I need to make scaffolding. But there's going to be a lot of this. It's just going to be turned automatically into planks. So may as well just have a setup for that. But after we go get some more glass to make sure that the sides are all covered, and I need to cover that little spot there too, so you know bamboo doesn't just come flying out. This will be a good system. This has gone well. And if we look over here, if we look around, you'll notice that there is actually, other than stuff that's kind of just stuck in a few random places that we can't really do anything about, all of the rest of the pieces get picked up. So the minecarts don't get overwhelmed. The timing is perfect. Don't need to add a pulse extender or anything. All is well. So that's gone pretty good. We now have unlimited wood, unlike in real life. So that means we can have all of the pieces for every future project. We need to make more contraptions, more machines. Like, I've only run this a couple times, and there's bamboo everywhere. We are loaded. So that means we can move on. We can move on to the next project, which in recording time will be in like a day. But to you, it'll be instant. They'll come in like, whoa. So one thing I realized after the fact was that like, you know, I'm showing off all these like different items, streams, and item collection things going on. And I realized that, you know, maybe there's some of you who don't actually know how they work. Maybe they seem like pretty intimidating or something. So today we're in the testing world, where I build little contraptions and little things to see how they work. And a little segment we're going to call Burg's series of wet tubes. So, how do these work? Oh, nope, wrong buttons. How do these work? So, generally speaking, whenever we want to put items anywhere, we just use water. Water just carries items as far as you want it to go. Usually, if you want items to go up, you need a soul sand and water sources going all the way up to make it go up. Makes a little bubble column. If you want items to go down, you just drop them. It doesn't matter. You just let them go. You don't need water. These will shoot items up. You can also not have the soul sand if you want them all the items to be kind of bunched together in one big clump. So water goes for a set number of blocks, and then it stops. Once it stops, typically you'll see something like this. You'll see some ice and like a trapdoor or something. So basically what this is what items in water will go at the same speed no matter what surface they're on. This is glass because people like seeing it, but it doesn't need to be glass. It could be anything. And it will always go the same speed. But in this space, for the next set of water, we use ice because it's slippery. Use something else, the items will actually just stop at the end of the water stream, and that's not something you want. The trap door is because every once in a while you want to add more water, but you want to keep the water going in a direction. You want it to keep flowing this way. If I just put water here, it would start flowing backwards, and then it would kind of get stuck. Trapdoor prevents this water source from flowing this way, so items just keep on going. It doesn't need to be a trapdoor. There's actually a lot of different ways you can do it. I like the trapdoors, but you can do the same with, for example, a slab. And this will also do the trick. You can also use a pressure plate. Any kind of pressure plate would work. Does the same thing. Some people use fences. Doesn't matter. Whatever works. In certain situations, it'll depend because it might depend on because items can get stuck. For example, I don't typically like using slabs just in case the items get stuck on it. I use the trapdoors. But really, it's personal preference. It doesn't really matter. You could even use something like glow lichen, I think. Yeah, use glow lichen here, and this will work just as fine. So if we go over here, I've just put a bunch of items in this. See, items spit out, and they just flow along the water. So a normal collection system will have this set up, except it'll replace the glass with just hoppers. Hoppers that go into chests so that these will pick up. Items will go along, they'll flow over the hoppers and go into the chests. This is an example of another type of way to stop the water and keep it going. This is what's in the bamboo farm. It's water on top of a slab with a glow lichen behind it, so it just kind of keeps flowing forward. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. I personally find with hoppers, though, I don't like to have this set up because sometimes the items get stuck in the actual physics, the actual shape of the hopper itself. It won't probably happen while I'm doing this because this is all going to get picked up. But once you end up with a bunch of items, I find it kind of gets stuck a little bit. Now, because of that, because sometimes the items will get stuck, especially if you have a lot of chests, it might be more desirable to have the items going over glass still. But you still want them to go into hoppers. You might see people doing something like this, which is actually you'll see at the bamboo farm. These are honey blocks on top of hoppers around this bend. So this bend basically is trying to align the items with the hoppers underneath it. Why? Oh, I must have picked up an egg from one of these chicks. Yeah, okay. The items will come up here, down this way. honey is not considered a full block. It looks full. It looks 100% full, but there's actually a little bit of space so that when items hit the honey block, they'll actually slide into these hoppers. And this is really good if you have some sort of contraption back here and you want to have your items on this side. So if you want to have the items on the outside, use honey. You can also use chests or anything that is like not like a full block, and that will work the same. Demonstrate, we go bip. You can see it runs into the honey and then gets picked up by the chest below. Now, what if you wanted to turn a corner, but you wanted the chests to be on the inside? You would do something like this instead. Now, what this is, the items go up, they kind of spit out a little bit here, go forward, and then they hit sea pickles. These sea pickles, when the items actually hit it, they'll hit the sea pickles and then they will stay along this corner so that they are actually picked up by these hoppers. You could also put honey on top of this or chests if you wanted, but I just put slabs for visual convenience. So this goes up. Items take a second. You can see they're hitting the sea pickles, and when they go over, they get picked up by these hoppers. So that's why you might see sea pickles in some of these item streams. It's all for like item alignment to make sure that when items go somewhere, they're on the right side. And that has been Burg's a series of wet tubes. Now that we got all out of the way, it is time to make the moss farm. I think I'm going to build it here. Just like flatten this out a little bit. It's kind of a ravine here, but the moss farm I'm going to build is not particularly big. I'm going to be taking a design from the YouTuber Basicredstone, even though the actual like machine itself was like, it's a little bit complicated. It's not super hard to set up. And I've built it before. I built it with pale moss on a multiplayer server, and it works fantastically. And it'll work even better with regular moss. And that's going to unlock a lot of stuff. It's going to unlock some mossy cobble and stone bricks, which is nice, but it's also, one thing it's going to give us is a lot of moss carpets. And moss carpets I find are very good for landscaping, because that means I won't have to have this lit up with torches, because I can just like hide lights under the grass, but moss carpets on it and have it hidden and not look as beginner. This place is still really ugly, isn't it? Jesus Christ, we got to do something about that. There's too many things. Not enough supplies. So let's get this started. I'll explain how it works once it's done and I've made it. So it's time to go. Just kidding. I also didn't build this immediately. I didn't have enough stone, and I had to run around and go mine some stone for a little bit, because I plan on making all of these and then don't have any of the materials like an idiot because I'm not a professional. Right. The moss farm is completed. Let me walk you through it. It's a nice little compact contraption, which I'm a big fan of, that is also very, very effective. I've had this built and I made it run for like 10 minutes. And we're doing pretty good for moss. And all sorts of the carpets and all the other little things as well. So that's excellent. I've added this little attachment here, which just goes into the composters, so that, like wheat seeds and stuff. I don't need wheat seeds. So the way that these work, the way that moss farms generally work, is on the sides here, we have stone generators. So we have here, basically, we have some waterlogged stairs and some lava. When the water will flow out where the stone is currently, underneath the lava. And after a couple seconds, it turns to stone. The stone is then brought down and pushed out, and there's one on either side. Underneath, we have this. Now this is a dispenser filled with bone meal that applies the bone meal to this moss. Applying it to this moss block actually spreads the moss above to the stone and changes the stone into moss. And when these pistons try to push in the stone, if there's moss there, the moss gets crushed. and it actually will fly up to this area up here. And in the cycle, this little bit of water on these trapdoors will come out, flow the water down into these hoppers. Some of it goes into these composters, which refuels the dispenser. Basically, this machine is self-sufficient. You don't have to do anything. It will just work when you turn it on. And all the leftovers end up in these chests, giving us plenty of moss. So turn it on. See, moss gets crushed. Water also breaks off the trees, the grass, and the moss carpets. Just throws those into the chests. Underneath here, this piston. It's quite loud under here. Basically, above this moss block, there just has to be air. So this piston actually just breaks whatever ends up generating on top of the moss, if it's a carpet, grass with the azaleas, so that it can just keep going. And it can just sort of keep generating and works completely self-sufficient. I don't have to interact with this. I don't need to add bone meal to it at any point. It will just be self-sufficient. There is a very, very small chance that it will run out of bone meal, but it's so small that I don't care. And also, because I'm going to be... any of the wheat seeds that I pick up, I don't really want them because I just have no use for them. Just shove them in here. And that'll also add a little bit extra bone meal so this won't run out. We have moss. We have all of the moss. We can do all sorts of things. Ooh, we also have the flowering azaleas, which is nice for decorative stuff. The moss carpets for handy little tricks for lighting. Which actually I could just do that right now. See, the moss carpets are nice because dig in the grass. I can put a light under here. Carpet on top. Adds a little bit of just like texture to the land. We're going to do some landscaping in the future, but adds a little bit more. But it's like a subtle way of adding lighting because the light goes through it. And we don't have to have these torches all over the place. You can do it with torches too, obviously. You could be like, make a little hole, torch, and carpet it. Doesn't make as much light though. I think the light given off by this is 12, while the frog lights is 15. So we can make it a little bit brighter. Don't have to do it as often. Make this place safe. We can get rid of all these torches. So this is huge. Huge progress. Huge. Not to mention, you can just take moss and like, that's a good like landscaping tool, generally speaking. If you don't want to have like, oh, I have moss blocks on me. If you don't want to have like hills that are, all brown, or if you want to just like have some variety in the grass, you can just, throw in a moss block. It's a small texturing difference, but I think it makes a pretty big difference. And you can throw it on like hills to make it more look like rolling hills rather than having the dirt exposed. And all in all, I think just looks really nice. So that's good. One thing I'm trying to do as well, I recently watched a video about people like yoinking farms and redstone builds and stuff and like claiming it to be their own or not giving credit and stuff like that. And that's kind of like gross, I feel like. Like just sort of claiming that you're a genius, like, oh, I made this really complicated door or this really complicated farm or something. And I don't want to. I'm not going to be like that, right? Like, I didn't make this. This is by Basicredstone YouTube. That link's in the description. Anything that I, like, know where it came from, anything I know where it came from, I'm going to try to, I want to make sure that I, like, give proper credit because, like, as I've said, I'm, like, newer to Minecraft. And I'm in tinkering with stuff to try to, like, design different things for my own purposes or trying to even design farms myself, but I'm not at the point where I can make something as good as this, something as compact and something that works as well with all the timings and stuff necessary. Like, it's a skill I'm trying to develop, but I haven't actually come up with anything myself. I mean, sorry, no, I have come up with things myself. I don't want to be like giving off the impression that I'm some sort of like farm making savant. I have no idea for a lot of these different farm types. I would have never figured out this iron farm. I wouldn't have figured this out for the bamboo farm. No fucking clue. I do feel though that there is one downside, is whereas like I'm like newer to Minecraft generally. I mean, that's one of the things that holds back the ability to design my own projects, like, because it's like I'm fighting against people who have like 15 years of redstone experience, and they have like, I almost feel like back when they started, right, like people came up with all these inventions, these crazy ways of doing stuff, because they only had like 6 blocks, right? They had like redstone, dust, and ham, and that's basically all they could do, and they made really crazy inventions with it. Now it's like there's so many things, it's almost overwhelming to learn how much everything goes together, and there's like simple things that I just sort of forget all the time, like how it works, and it's a lot to go on. But you know, I'm getting there slowly, and I would like to get to the point where like maybe this is something that can be improved on, that I could figure out, you know, like maybe there's other ways of doing things that I could figure out in time. I just don't know them. So I am going to try to, I'm going to give credit if something, fucking eggs, if, I'm going to give credit if it's something that I didn't make. Now, the other downside too is that there are like kind of commonly accepted designs that just seem to exist everywhere. Sleeping. There are commonly designed things that exist everywhere that I just like, I don't know where it comes from. And it's not because like I didn't try to find out. It's just like they've been adopted, or like something I think is just sort of like, oh, this is just how a thing works, but somebody's made it and I don't know. Like, I don't know who's the first person to come up with this like honey plan. You know, I don't know who did that first. Or like, I don't know who came up with the flying machine that's in here. No clue. I have no idea who came up with it. All right, you gotta calm down. Yeah, I don't know how everything's, but like I'm gonna make sure I give credit where it's due, and I will say too, if there's something I miss, like as an example, like if I ever like I've shown off item filters before, but like the first person who came up with those was Impulse. They're Impulse item filters. And I want to make sure that I do properly credit where it's due. If there's something that I miss that I'm like, oh, this is just like a thing that people do, but somebody else is like, no, I like this person came up with this, like please let me know, because I want to make sure people get proper credit. A shout out here is not fucking meaningful. It's not meaningful in the slightest, but like I do want at the very least be like, oh, if there's something that interests you, you can kind of go and look and learn more from people who probably know more than I do, or maybe they have other cool designs that are like going to be super helpful to you, or some farm that you're looking for, and it's just hard to find. You just don't know what can and can't be farmed. But if I mess that up, you know, say something. I want to make sure everyone gets their proper due. Speaking of which, the next project is, because I'm gonna be making a few more contraptions that are semi-automatic, that require bone meal, and also this requiring a lot of bone meal. I can just go over to the mob farm, which is over there, and just grab bones, or just make a bone meal farm here. So I'm going to make a bone meal farm, and the bone meal farm I'm going to make is fairly compact, but also very complicated. I built it on the multiplayer server. Oh my god, who built it? Actually, I'm here recording this thing and talking about giving credit, and then I just sort of like, oh, I should talk about this thing that I'm going to build. I don't actually fucking remember who built it. Googling it. Right, this is the Chromoss farm. Chromoss, I don't know. This is designed. It's on the Archivists YouTube channel, designed by somebody named Monica, according to the description. I don't know who all. This is like a team who puts everything together. I don't know. I'll be honest, but I have a version of it on the multiplayer server, and it is fantastic. It's a performance chugging beast, but it makes a lot of bone meal, and I'm a big fan of it. So I'm going to put that around here. However, I'm going to do, I did mess something up on the original. You know what? Actually, I can just showcase it. We'll just go there. Okay, so in here, this is the farm I'm going to be building. You have to gloss over the fact that it's in a extraordinarily obnoxious building. But this is what I'm going to be building. I'm thinking maybe even taller. Why not just make it excessive? I've also made a couple of additions for myself, like an auto crafting setup for bone blocks. But the main problem that I did, as you can see, this chunk border goes directly through the middle of it. This is a very, let's see, there's a bunch of chunk borders going through it. This is like a super precise machine. And if you leave it running and just leave, and it unloads unevenly, it breaks. I've had to fix this so many times, but it's because of my stupidity in putting it here. So I'm going to actually put it in an appropriate place in an actual chunk correctly so that that doesn't happen, or at least it's less likely to happen. Right, now that we're here, let's get building. Just kidding, I didn't build. Instead, I got annoyed by running out of redstone again, so I made a bunch of villagers. I got a bunch of farmers and some clerics to trade for redstone because I was sick of just running out and having to go mine. I really need a witch farm. Anywho, here's the rest of it. You know, just building. The cow was hanging out with me. I didn't have anything interesting to say about this, but you know, I'm just kind of building it, and that's a building montage. And yeah, I'm done now, I think. Maybe no. So this is actually a neat little machine that I'm gonna try to explain how it works. One thing that is really nice about this is this by itself is done. This will generate bone meal, but the design is nice where you can like continue to stack modules. You can do it vertically, you can do it horizontally. I do not understand how to do it horizontally, so I'm not going to, because you have to like mirror it. So like do the whole thing, but backwards, like over here. And I don't understand it. So I'm just going to make a tower. But I figured before I built the whole thing, I would just explain how it works, because like this is a mess when you look at it. So it's all operated from under here. This is a little clock that just sort of makes a signal go around, and it passes signals through these trapdoors. Because when you put a trapdoor against scaffolding, that sends a signal upwards that can be detected by observers. So that goes off, and basically what ends up happening is inside we have a bunch of stone, some lava. This essentially works the same way as the moss farm we built earlier in the episode does, but it's a lot more precise. Basically, the second that these slime blocks get pulled down, and these honey blocks get pulled down, and pulls all the stone downwards, the second it arrives, it's timed so that a moss block in the center here, right here, gets bone mealed, and it turns all of the stone in here into moss. There is water in the corners of the scaffolding. This is actually really hard to show off because it's so fucking small. But in the corners, just behind there, there's water. When all the stone gets pushed down and turned into moss, water flows along the top of it, which gets rid of the grass, the carpets, the trees, that kind of thing. And then the water also, once it kind of flows all the way around and moves all of that, it will turn to stone at the exact same second that the slime blocks come back up, so that it grabs the stone the second it generates, pulls it down, crushing all of the moss blocks that all go into these hoppers, that all go into composters, which makes bone meal. it takes a little bit of time because it has to build up first, right? Like this dispenser has some bone meal in it, but this will have to get filled up over time before we start getting some really good gains over here. No, it's time to sleep. So yeah, this has got to fill up before we can get some gains here. But yeah, just a simple flick of the switch. And you can see it like you can kind of see the water flowing out. You can see everything moving. You can see like the stone literally just gets generated and then instantaneously it's turned into moss. It's instantaneously brought down to crush the moss that was there before. And this will just keep going. This is self-fueling and just works forever. And it will, if I just stand here for long enough, it'll make a good amount of bone meal for us. It takes some time, this has to fill up, and then the other sources will fill up. There's a little bit of loss. You can see some like carpets will fling out to the side. The original design too doesn't have this glass on the top. I have the glass here because on this world, fire tick is turned on, so the lava will burn down the whole thing if I don't have this here. So that's important. But the reason I'm going to be building it vertically is because I just have to build this over and over again. And because it's all timed by scaffolding, I don't have to build any extra like timers or anything like that, any other fancy other contraptions. It's just make this again on top. The other thing I'm going to add, which I haven't added yet, I just wanted to kind of showcase before this became a bit of a mess, is like this is the way to get the chest. That's absurd. That's not good. That'll do, but we want a better way to get some items out. So I'm gonna have a system that goes out the side that will basically collect all of the bone meal. And I'm thinking having it collect and then come into an auto crafting setup so that I can just like leave this running and then just get bone blocks, have it all condensed for convenient storage. But that's gonna take a little bit because these aren't like super easy to build. I mean, they are relatively easy to build, but it's just like it's complicated and precise as you can look at it. A lot of parts doing very specific things. So I'm gonna build, I think, for my purposes, maybe just 2 more. I think 2 more will be fine for myself. Yeah, we'll do that. So yeah, I'm just gonna get started on that. So while building this, one of the things it needs is a dispenser with a bucket of lava in it. And this is about the importance of following the build order correctly, because this turned into the biggest tragedy, but I only recorded it like this. So we're going to watch me. I'm just kind of building along thinking like, oh, I can just put this bucket of lava in here and get that out of my inventory. And I don't think about it. And then I put something down in a second that triggers the lava, and now I'm on fire. And I panic, I'm trying to fly out, and I'm off, and I'm into the water. I did shit myself a little bit. I'm feeling a bit emotionally tumultuous, but I get out of the water, and I'm like, all right, time to get back on there. I realized the mistake. I'm like, okay, time to go clean up that lava. Prepared, flying up. Time for a safe landing. It's all looking good. And we're in the lava again. Okay, I'm shitting myself some more. And we're back in the water. At this point, I'm running low on rockets. And I'm running low on health. So at this point, I'm having an emotional struggle here. You can see me, I don't fly back up immediately. I'm just like trying to emotionally recover, get my health back. Lava's still out there. I'm just saying, okay, I can't fuck that up again. I'm going to land carefully this time, slowly. It's all going to be fine. And I'm right back in the lava again, panicking, throwing up rockets. This is like my last rocket that I get out of, and I'm back in the water. At this point, I'm shooketh emotionally. I go to get some more rockets because I'm out. Now, you'll notice that the contraption has caught fire. I didn't notice this. I'd left. I'm getting my rockets. You could see it slowly burning down. All the progress is kind of just going. I'm just minding my own business. I'm going to come fly back over here in a second when I notice and start shitting my pants. Yep, there I am. You can see it's all collapsing. The bamboo exploding actually put the lava away, so that was really nice. But yeah, so make sure to follow the build order when you do something properly. Actually, like, think about it. But I did manage to build the rest of it without catching fire too many times. You see a little bit of spit of fire there. But, you know, just take some time building the item elevator too. And I'm trying to fill up the time with this voiceover, but here's some storage or something. I don't know. So, got it built. You'll probably notice in the time lapse, I've probably highlighted it. I'm recording this before I do any editing or anything, but you'll probably notice that I fell in the lava 3 times and almost died. So that's not ideal. That's not how I wanted that to go. But like, I've been like recording this and making this while like very sick, and it has damaged me cognitively. Anywho, this is all working. There's some moss that gets flown out the sides, but I have this going right now. It's just I have it passively going because it takes some time to build up. So, for example, I've run the bottom section for longer. Actually, I'm going to turn it down because it's a little bit loud. I've run the bottom section for longer just because I've tested it every time. You'll see that I have Bonemeal coming out of the bottom module faster than the other ones because it just has to build up until this hopper is full, and then it'll go at full steam. So I just have it going right now, trying to do the same for all the other modules. So I just have it set up where any of the excess Bonemeal that's coming out comes through these little dropper stations, ones that I've used repeatedly. Kind of just spits it into this tube and drops into this. Now, this is new, so I figured I may as well talk about it. I'll have to get close to it, so I'm just going to turn this off for the time being. This machine is also very fragile in the sense that you have to turn it off, otherwise if you leave, it breaks. I've already broken it once, so that's not great. So this here, right, we have is going down. So what we have here is a glass tube. All the Bonemeal gets spit into that, and it lands on that hopper right there. What this stuff here is, this is a auto crafter. This is one that I really enjoy because it is compact in the sense that it's one wide. It's also tileable, which is really nice if you have like a lot of output. But I just like using this one because it's nice and simple. This is a design by, I didn't come up with this. I had to look it up, and I'm just going to tab over really quick to make sure. Brandon Hennis on YouTube came up with this little crafter design, and I really enjoy it. I put it in a lot of farms, and you know, that link's also going to be in the description with the rest of them. The way that it works, items go in here. Now this can work with basically anything as long as it takes more than 2 slots to craft. You just have to mess with it a little bit to make sure that like items go in the right order, but this is what does work with anything. So basically, this crafter is being detected as to whether or not it's full by this comparator here. I feel like I'm living the short king experience, excuse me. By this comparator here, it's detecting that crafter and powering this dust up to here. On the top, there is also a crafter with 7 of the slots disabled. That makes so that this comparator reads out a signal strength of 7 into this block, which powers this dust as well. Because of the distance that this has to travel, when there's not this when okay when that isn't full, when that crafter is not full, this will be, the strength here is going to be 7. The second it gets full, it goes from the comparator, coming out 9, and then goes up another one, bringing this up to 8. This observer is looking at it, detects that change, powers this copper bulb, which then powers this comparator, hitting the crafter, turning it on, and auto-crafting a bone block, which just comes out the bottom and goes down that water stream. I've had this running for a little while. Got a good amount of bone blocks so far. Probably running it like 20 minutes or so. And so for context, you know, this is a whole row of bone meal. Every stack is 9 stacks of bone meal. So this is going pretty well. And the other 2 top modules aren't fully charged yet. Like they're not like fully stocked up on bone meal themselves. So they're not spitting out as much excess. So a little bit more time running, and this is going to start producing a lot more. And that's going to be helpful because in the future, what I want to make are just some more farms. Tree farms specifically will benefit from having a lot of bone meal around. And bone meal is just good to have. Also, like building with the bone blocks, I think they just look really nice. So, you know, after that, I think that's going to be it. I think that's enough. I think there's been a lot of like projects and stuff, like trying to finish things and do all these things. And it's taken a little bit for me to get these together, to get the materials for it and do all the things. So it's very, very building focused of an episode, very farm focused. But I'm thinking on the next episode working on some interiors because we'll have some more materials around. And I might just kind of like not plan it and just go in and just see what we can do. I don't know. I don't want to promise anything, but maybe something a little bit more chatty or something. I don't know. But once again, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. I'll talk to you later.